Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Bet you didn't guess that you were gonna get a daytime vlog, did ya? I have been driving all over. I just left IKEA. I did a review mukbang on my review channel of the IKEA veggie meatballs. And I did not know that IKEA had a restaurant. It has an entire restaurant. Did you guys know that? Like cafeteria. And it's really nice too. And super cheap. I got 9 meatballs, I think is what you get. And then a side of quinoa. Is that how you pronounce it? A side of quinoa. And then I got this like veggie patty thing. And this like juice box, this elderflower juice box, and it was $5.38, which I think is super cheap, and it was extremely healthy. The food was delicious. I was really surprised. The veggie patty thing was like the best. I got so lost in IKEA though. I always get so lost when I go in there. If I ever go to IKEA, I only go in there with like a purpose of like, I want to get bath mats, or I want to get this, or I want to get that. And I was like walking around today and I was like, you know, we need to make a list of some stuff that we want to get for the house. I think I want to get like an entire new bedding set. They have this really masculine flannel bed set, like comforter and like, or duvet cover and what do you call it? Like pillow shams or pillowcases, and I want to get that for like the fall winter. But then I'd like to get just like, they have like a white one that has like gray piping on it or blue piping, and then they have, that would look really nice with our bed. And then they also have like a gray one that has like white piping on it, I think is the other one I saw. They have some really nice bedding in there, and it's not super expensive. It was like for a king size duvet cover with 2 pillowcases or pillow shams, it's like $39, which I don't think is that expensive. Everything in there looks so fantastic. I just wish my house like looked like IKEA, you know what I mean? Without having to put all that stuff together. Because I don't love all that, but I need to just go in there someday and be like, okay, I'm gonna buy a bunch of stuff. You know, I know this is gonna sound corny, but like, I got that, got that thing from the Container Store to like organize our drawer, and that in the bathroom, and that has been so nice. Like, I need to just start organizing like every drawer we have like that, and you know, because like I have these 2 drawers in the kitchen that like I use, Alex doesn't use them, and they have like pins and paper clips and stuff. I need to get like an organizer for that drawer. And then I need to get an organizer for the other drawer, which is kind of like just like a junk drawer, and it has like batteries and all kinds of stuff in it. It really makes my OCD feel like it's not out of control when things have their place. Alex just bagged up a bunch of clothes and donated them to a shelter here. And he had like 6 bags of clothes that he got rid of. And I need to do the same thing, because I've been saying that forever, that I'm going to do it. So that's my plan sometime this week. It's a beautiful day. It looked like it was going to rain earlier. It was kind of like some dark gray clouds. I guess there still are over there a little bit, but it's still really nice. I've been listening to my audiobook all day, Lock Every Door. I got up, started uploading my vlog, KPP is medicine, just kind of laid in bed and looked at my phone for a little bit and some stuff. Got up, did meditations and all that kind of stuff, and then I went and got my coffee. I was gonna actually do like a Dunkin' Donuts review or something. I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to do this veggie meatball review for a long time, so I think I'm gonna do it. So that's why I went and did that. It was fun. I like vlogged the whole thing like being in the store. If you guys like that, let me know, and I'll start like vlogging like outside more, like when I'm walking around or running errands or going into Costco and stuff. Sometimes it's interesting, like when you go in places, like Costco is an example of this. Like they've asked me to put my camera away. And so I haven't been able to use like that footage when I've vlogged in there before, but not one person said anything at IKEA. And like the woman, when I was going through the cafeteria line, she, I was recording the whole thing. I didn't put her on it, but she didn't care. And then, like when I went to the original place, which is like where you can get hot dogs and stuff, they also have veggie hot dogs, which I'm going to review there also, because the woman said that they're really, really good. She's like, they have all kinds of different mustards, and she was real excited about it. The woman that worked, everybody that works there is so friendly, and she was like, they have all kinds of, you know, different like things that you can put on it, and she was like, they have really, really good. It's more like the front is more like a concession stand, and then in the back is like a full-blown like cafeteria. I didn't know they had it. It's really pretty. It's like the setup is really nice. And I mean, I understand it now too. I get, you know, like here's the thing. We just got an IKEA in Indiana like 2 years ago. Maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know when it was. And I haven't really been there a whole lot. But the closest one to us before that was Cincinnati. And friends of mine would like drive to Cincinnati and stay overnight just to go to, they would go to IKEA like during the day when they got there, and then they would go to IKEA the next day as well, and then they would like drive back with all this stuff because IKEA has such great deals and whatever. And I never really, other than the catalogs, had any idea what like IKEA really looked like in a store. And people are like, you're gonna be overwhelmed. It is overwhelming. The thing is that the store is set up so bizarre that I always get lost in there. But like, you know, I was talking about this on here, I think not too long ago. Like, we got these 3 bath mats for our bathroom. They're like these gray bath mats. They have like held up. Like they were cheap. They were like $9.99. And I like, you can throw them in the wash and they look brand new. Like absolutely brand new. So I told Alex, I said, he's about to get off work. It's 5:34. And I was telling him, I said, I'd like to go back to IKEA and just like, you and I just walk around and get some stuff that we need for the house and start cleaning up. Day today. You guys want to see the clouds? Look at those clouds out there. Isn't that pretty? It's what Indiana in the Midwest summer looks like. PP's doing good today. Whenever I say that on a vlog, he then starts coughing. I'm always kind of apprehensive to say it on a vlog. I'm getting ready to go to the post office. And then I'm going to go home, and I'm going to make my, I did a book vlog too. So I drove around, when I was driving around, I did a book vlog. I'm going to go home, I'm going to do my Peterisms video, some of the meditations that I haven't read today. And then I am going to do a video on my Peter Monn channel. I'm not entirely sure. I have an idea of what I'm going to do on that, but I'm not entirely sure. And get those uploaded, and then I don't know, we'll probably watch Pose tonight. I think the season finale was on last night. So we'll probably watch Pose. I may do a live stream tonight. I'm definitely doing a live stream tomorrow night. So if you're watching this, well, you will be watching this on Thursday. So if it's up before then, I'm gonna be doing a live stream listed below on YouNow. In the evening, so you'll have to, okay, I was adjusting the camera and I turned it off, but anyway, what I was saying was that I'm going to be doing a live stream on YouNow on Thursday evening, so you'll need to check that out, and come over there and hang out. We're going to just have a talk and chat and hang out, and it'll be real fun. So anyway, alright, I am going to go into the post office, and then I will be back in 2 and 2. Okay, I'm back. I'm heading home. I just got off the phone with my husband. He is on his way home. He is picking up a salad from Basbo's because he is craving a salad. And then I'm gonna go home and upload these videos, and I'm gonna maybe make another video or two. I was trying to kind of figure out what I was gonna make a video about, and I thought I had an idea, but we'll see. And yeah, I don't know. I might do my meditation video outside because it's so pretty. The sun was hiding behind the clouds earlier, but now it's like straight out. It's beautiful. I'm hoping I don't get caught up in this traffic, this quitting hour traffic. It's never that bad like through the mall area right here, but like then when you turn on like the side streets, like going into the residential areas, it's because it's all like stop signs, that's when it gets really, really bad. I honestly, like I have friends of mine that like drive an hour to work and an hour back. I do not know how they do it every day. I really, really do not know how they do it. Like I would lose my mind. You know, back in the day when I was doing assessments all over the state of Indiana, like I didn't mind that because it was through the middle of the day, you know, like the morning and the middle of the afternoon, and I would listen to audiobooks as I drove all day long. And if I had like, you know, 2 or 3 assessments to do that were spread out through the state, well, I used to do them so like northern half, southern half of the state, depending on when I had to do them. So if I had like 3 that were north, I would do like the furthest one first, then come down until I got home. I would stop somewhere and eat along the way. I listened to a lot of Patricia Cornwell books back then. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. I haven't read a Patricia Cornwell book or listened to one of her books in a long time. But I used to listen to a lot of her books on audio cassette back in the day. Do you guys remember that? Oh my God. Was it audio cassette or DVD or CD? DVD. CD. I think it was audio cassette. But anyway, I didn't mind driving like that. I enjoyed it. But, you know, like, it was nice because I would just go in and I would clock in, and then I would go get, like, the places that I had to go. I would get all the information on it, and then I would leave. So I was, like, out the door by, like, 8:15 from the treatment facility, and then I would leave, and, you know, like, if it was, let's say, a 2-hour drive up north, so I get there by 10, you know, it'd be like, I'd do the evaluation, that would be like an hour, I would leave there by like 11, 11:30, I would drive back down, I would do another one, that would be like, you know, I'd be done there at like 1:30 or 2, and then I'd eat lunch somewhere. Well, usually I think I only had like, the most I would ever have in a day is 3, the most was 2, and so I would be done early, you know. And at that time, I was salaried, so if I got done really early one day, and like another day I knew was going to be like, let's say if I had 3 and I was going to actually be later and coming back, you know, like an hour or 2 later, like I could get off work early, it was nice. That was a fun part of my job. I did that for a year. Well, maybe a little bit over a year. I got to know, like, judges all over Indiana, prosecutors, probation, parole officers, all over the state of Indiana. Still am friends with a lot of them today. I have a friend of mine that drives one of those big Infinity SUVs. Oh, it's not, traffic's not too bad over there. She has like a white one, a huge one, and every time I see a white Infinity SUV, I'm like, it's like Melissa's car. Her license plate says October 31st, and then she has this Michael Myers sticker on the back of it. So anytime I see her car, I'm like, because there's a lot of like, not a lot, but like, I'll like be like, is that Melissa? And I'm like, I turn and I look, and there's no sticker and no license plate. I'm like, nope, that's not Melissa. Talking about there's a lot of black Jeep Cherokees in Indiana. I'll like walk out to a parking lot and there'll be like 2 parked next to me. And I'm like, where's mine? Which one's mine? The other day I actually did go up to the wrong car. The dogs are gonna enjoy running around outside tonight. They were outside in the yard for a long time today. Pee-Pee just stands out there and he sniffs the air, and then he keeps on walking, and then he'll stop and he sniffs the air, and then he'll keep on walking. And then Boo Radley follows him the entire time in the yard. Tucker just kind of does his thing and then comes back up on the patio. Tucker doesn't really love being out on the grass. I don't know why. I don't know if maybe he's allergic to it or something. But he'll go like along the flower beds. It's really funny. He'll go on the grass, but like only when there's nowhere else to go. But like otherwise he like goes along our neighbor's like flower bed and like goes along there to the edge. And I don't know, it's funny. But Boo and Pee-Pee just like tear out right away. All 3 of them, when they come out, well, like down the street from us, they're doing construction, and there's this huge, what do you call it? One of those, oh shoot, what's it called? Dumpsters. Like there's a huge dumpster, and I don't know what they think it is, but all 3 of them come tearing out of the house, and they're like, oh, Boo and Tucker. Pee-Pee's bark doesn't sound like that, but all 3 of them they dart for it, barking, and then as soon as they get to the edge of our neighbors, they like turn right. I have never seen at this mailbox, it has a flying Snoopy on it. I've never seen that before, and I've driven by this house like a million times. Well, all right, you guys, listen, I'm almost home, so I'm gonna get off here. I'm actually, right now, do you guys wanna know something really spooky regarding last night's vlog? I'll tell you when, I'm currently passing where her Baumeister grew up. Right, I know the mailbox, here. Spooky, scary. Anyway, all right, you guys, I will be back in a little while. Bye. Okay, I'm back. And I have been listening to my audiobook, and I'm not going to vlog for a long time because I want to get back to listening to my audiobook before I go to bed. It is really good, you guys. Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. It's very, very scary, but it's really good. Can I just tell you that the scab came off on my thumb, and it looks like it's going to start bleeding again, but it's not, but it hurts. I need to get a Band-Aid when I get home. Somebody like a year ago sent me these funny Band-Aids in the mail, and they said like idiot and stuff on them. They were hilarious, and I use those Band-Aids. It's such a beautiful night, and it is like full moon central right now. Back in the day, my friend and I, we used to, this must have been, I don't know if this was, I think this was like the spring after I got sober. She's a friend of mine from high school. But we used to walk every night. I actually don't think I've ever talked about this on here. We used to walk every night. And she would come over to my apartment. Was that one it was? But she would come over to my apartment. I actually did cook for this too, because I would make us spaghetti afterwards. That's about one of the only things I can cook reasonably well. But, and we would sit at the bar stools at my bar in the apartment. You guys have bar stools if you live in an apartment, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, back when we didn't have cell phones, back when we had the phone that wrapped around the entire apartment, I literally had that cord too. I'd carry the phone, and then like when it would go no more, I would put it on the floor, and then I would like then I also had like a 10-foot cord from like the ear, you know what I'm talking about? I don't know how I just remember this. I had this red phone in my bedroom. My entire bedroom was white. I even at one point had one of those mosquito net things hanging across my bed from Pier 1. And my dad had made me like this platform bed in my apartment. So I just had, it was just like this wood platform with a mattress on it. It was really comfortable, strange enough. You know, that apartment, it's funny, like I don't really ever talk about that on here. I don't really think much about it. And like that was my very first apartment that I ever had. And, oh, let me tell the story first real quick. But anyway, so my friend and I, she would come over and we would walk together, and we would walk way down the street. So anyway, we would walk way down the street, and then at the end of the street there was like this cemetery, and so we would walk through the cemetery. It was a real pretty cemetery. We would walk through the cemetery, and then we would come back. And I don't, like, one evening when we were walking, I mean, we didn't walk at night, like it was always like, you know, 5 or 6 in the evening and it was clear outside. But it would start getting dark, you know, maybe towards the, I don't know how late it would start getting dark. And you could see the moon come out. And I remember this one time, the moon started coming out, and I was like, oh, look, it's a moon. And so we came up with this thing called full moon wishes. I don't know how I remember this. She had this crush on this guy named Abe. Abe, back in the day. I don't know how I remember that. But anyway, because that would be like one of her wishes. We had to, so of course I wanted to know what her wishes were, right? I came up with the rules, but I wanted to know what her wishes were. So I came up with this thing called full moon wishes, and we would like, as we went around this corner, we had to like make 3 wishes out loud. Of course, my wishes were always really silly, because I didn't want her to know my deep, darkest wishes. But she would give me her wishes. Like, she would tell me what her deep wishes are. It's so funny. God, that was so long ago. 24 years ago. Over 24 years ago now. She would die if I told her that. She'd be like, how do you remember that? I'll have to message her and tell her, text her and tell her that. Be like, do you remember full moon wishes? But anyway, let me tell you how good a shape I was back then, okay? So I was like running and lifting and everything, and so I had long hair, and I wore it like in a ponytail, and oh God, that hurts. Was that before I got sober? I was running like, well, not then, but way before too. No, that would have been afterwards. That would have been afterwards. When did I get my hair cut though? No, I would have had short hair then, because I got my hair cut like as soon as I got out of the day I got out of treatment. My friend took me and I got all my hair cut off. So that's what happened. But I was running down the street one time, and my friend, who had been my roommate at one point, she was my roommate in and out for several years. Like, we lived together again later with my first boyfriend. The 3 of us lived together, and then she and I lived together when I was drinking. We drank together. And but her friend lived at like the apartment complex down the street, and I was running one night, and from the back, she didn't know it was me. I had my shirt off. Can you even imagine? Okay, let's just be for real. Peter Monn running down the street with no shirt on, okay, on the sidewalk during quitting hour traffic on a main road, okay? So she lived at the apartment. There was like, this area, there was like 5, it's on Allisonville Road. There's like 5, if you live in Indianapolis, there's like 5 apartment complexes. God, maybe more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 6 apartment complexes right there, but the 6th one wasn't there yet. So anyway, I'm like running down the street with my shirt off, and she didn't know who it was, and she just saw me from the back, and so she told my friend, who was my roommate later, again and later, she said there was like this really hot guy that was like running down the street, and she like described what I had on. And so anyway, it was me. Isn't that so funny that she didn't know it was me? But that is a telltale sign that I need to get back to working out again. Okay, so anyway, but my friend, she used to tell me, this is a different friend, she used to tell me all of her wishes, and then we would come, so I always knew what she was wishing for, and I'd be like, oh my God, I know all your wishes, and then she would be like, don't tell anybody, and I would be like, okay, I won't tell anybody. But anyway, and then sometimes I didn't know. I never told her wishes. I didn't tell her wishes. They were kind of funny. They were like crushes and things like that, you know what I mean? But anyway, so we all went to IUPUI, which is Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. This is my friend that she's the one that worked at Burger King in high school, and she's like super successful now. Like, she worked at Burger King in high school, and we would be like drunk coming through the drive-thru, and we'd be like, oh my God, just calling sick, come in, come hang out with us. And, well, anyway, my friends and I, we would be like in the back seat, and we'd be like hanging out at my friend. She had this Buick Riviera. Do you remember those? Okay, so she had one of those. And we'd be hanging out, and then she'd be like, I can't, you guys, I have to work. And she called it the BK Lounge. I think I talked about this on here not too long ago. And we'd be like, okay, well then you give us like, give us Whoppers for free. And so she'd give us free food. But anyway, she used to call IUPUI ooey pooey. A lot of people do. I don't know why. That drives me crazy the same way that when people say Tarjay, like, I don't like that. I don't know why, but I don't like that. Don't say Tarjay. I don't know why that drives me nuts. So anyway, this hurts now, the scab. It was fine before, but now it's kind of hurting. Does that mean it's healing? I think that means it's healing. No pain, no gain, right? So anyway, yeah. You know, that apartment is a weird place for me when I look back on it, because it was like my first apartment. It was where all my partying occurred. It was where the worst part of my disease of addiction occurred. It was like my downfall. But at the same time, I had a lot of really, really good times there. And it's so weird, like, when I think back, like, of the good times, like, I immediately thought of my boyfriend, Jack, who was, like, legit my first boyfriend. And I've talked about him on here before. He died of, I always get the name of that disease wrong. My other friend actually took care of him in his last 6 months. She lived in Florida, and he came down and stayed with her. And it's like a person's name. It's like John, you know what I'm talking about, that disease? I don't know what it is, but anyway. It's like a debilitating disease, and it's terminal. But man, Jack was a cutie patootie when I met him. He was a painter and an artist and a photographer, and I just thought he was totally dreamy. I remember us like hanging out at that apartment. But that was when I drank. So his best friend became one of my best friends. She's the one that I like didn't have a relationship for years and years and years, and then we like came back together. And there was a situation, I think I've talked about this before, where she was having like she was in town visiting, and her ex was like throwing an after party, and she wanted me to go and put these kegs in the back, and I was like, no, girl. She like compromised my sobriety, and I was like early in sobriety, and I didn't like it. It made me real uncomfortable, and so anyway, we just kind of had a partying of ways. But I do remember, like, she tried so hard. I remember before I got sober, like, one night, her and her boyfriend, like, they brought me, like, that near beer stuff, you know? Which it still has alcohol in it. It has, like, low alcohol in it. But she and her boyfriend, they brought me, like, that near beer stuff. And I remember at the time, I was like in an outpatient program. I had been sober for like a couple days, and it was like that near beer was like off to the races. I like drank like 2 or 3 of them, and it was just like, there was no, I mean, I wasn't getting a whole lot of buzz out of it, but I was like ready to drink. And I remember we ended up going downtown, and we were like skinny dipping at this pool at the Riley Towers downtown, and then we thought the police came, or the police did come or something, I don't remember, but I ended up running away from them, and like we hopped the fence, and I cut up my feet with glass on the street, and they ended up getting me, and like I remember having my feet out the window or something and singing that Sophie B. Hawkins song, Damn I Wish I Was Your Lover. I remember getting up the next day, my feet were just tortured, bloody, cuts everywhere, you know? You think about those things, and you think, like, some of those things would be enough to, like, get you to sober up. Like, I mean, I have 100 stories, 1,000 stories like that of things that happened. Places I woke up, you know, that were just, I talked about that last night with the Fox Hollow Farms thing, you know? I mean, I woke up a lot of places, and I was like, how the hell did I get here? Like, I don't even know where I'm at. I woke up on front porches. I woke up at people's apartments on the floor that I didn't even remember being with the night before. You know, I remember, the one thing I can say, I'm not saying that I didn't have some one-night stands, because I did. But, like, my drinking would really kind of kept me from that. Like, nobody really wanted to take home a drunk, you know what I mean? And so I ended up always, like, at friends' houses. It always was, like, people took care of me. Like, so I almost kind of think in a weird way, like, I don't know. You know, that drinking, I think, is something that kept me from putting myself in even more dangerous situations than I could have been in. I know that sounds strange, but, you know, I mean, I was passed out early nights. So a lot of times people would, like, my friends, my one friend that we hadn't talked in years, we talked a couple years ago, like it was just like no time had passed. He was like my best friend at the time that I got sober. And my mother loved him. Well, he lived right down the street from the bars. So he and his roommate would take me home, put me to bed, and then they would go back out. I can remember sometimes, like, them coming home at, like, 4 or 5 in the morning after hours parties, and, like, me waking up and being ready to go again. I was, like, I had slept for 3 hours. I was ready to keep on drinking. My old roommate, she and I used to make ourselves get sick so that we could drink more. Like, that's problems right there. But, you know, that apartment was probably the most artsy-fartsy apartment I've ever had. I had all kinds of craziness in there. People loved that apartment. People just come in, they'd be like, oh my God, this is the coolest apartment in the entire world. And it was nothing. I mean, forever. I remember finally, one year for, like, Christmas, my dad bought me a couch. And, it was not even that big of a deal couch, you know? But before that, I had 2 director's chairs that I had gotten from my mom's basement. Not the basement that she's in now, but the house basement when she moved, or before she moved. And then I had, like, a little table in between it that I had had at my dad's house, my bedroom at my dad's house. And then I had, in the corner, I had a Papasan chair from Pier 1, and that I had at my bedroom at my dad's house. Do you guys know what those Papasan chairs are? I had one of those. And then I had this bird cage that I gotten out of the dumpster. It was this gorgeous bird cage. I thought it was fantastic. And it had this bird in there, this fake stuffed bird that I named her Sylvia after Sylvia Plath. She was in there. And then I had a working wood fireplace that I every night had fires in. I think I'm gonna go this way, actually. Do something a little different tonight. And on the mantle, I just had all kinds of stuff, paintings, and it just kind of I had all kinds of stuff, candles. I had candles everywhere in my apartment. And then my dad had my mom and dad had this old buffet table that they had cut the legs off of to put, like, stereo and stuff in like, their very first apartment. And it had actually been in the mudroom at my mom's house, and she didn't want it anymore. So I took that. We have it in the basement now. And it's so heavy, I don't even know how to get rid of it. I don't want it anymore. We have it in the basement, it has nothing in it. But anyway, I had that on, and then on that had my TV and my stereo, because I was forever playing CDs and all that kind of stuff. And I always had 2 stacks of CDs right next to it, like, of all the CDs I was playing. And back then it was like the Cranberries, the Pixies, the Smiths, all that. When I went out, though, when I was getting ready to go out, it was always dance music. We were always listening to dance music. And then next to that, I had bookshelves. And originally, I had bookshelves that my dad had helped me make. And it was literally boards and brick. Like, there was no money put into this apartment. I mean, this was, like, the cheapest furnished apartment in the world. I had boards with bricks on them. And then it was just full of books. And then I got rid of that. And I actually, because I opened up my very first... you know what? I always think that my very first credit card was this credit card that my dad was like, don't get it. But my very first credit card, well, maybe it was, actually. But I got a Pier 1 card, okay? And let me just tell you, that thing was dangerous. I didn't need it. No, that Pier 1 card came later, because when I got the couch, I bought a coffee table at Pier 1. And I remember, because my max limit was $400, you guys, on my Pier 1 card. And I ended up, buying this coffee table that was like $100 and some on it. And I remember my friend at the time, oh my God, I just remembered his name, well, I don't want to say, but anyway, did you guys remember the story that I told on here about how, like, I had this what was his boyfriend's name, I wonder? God, I wonder if they're still together. That would be so crazy. I mean, I haven't seen them in like 20 plus years. But I had these two friends that were so nice, and one morning I woke up and they had put me in pajamas in their loft bedroom and everything. Do you guys remember me telling this story? And I was like, where the hell am I? And I was like, I thought they had done something weird, and they had like literally like just put me in pajamas, and they were making me breakfast. They were so nice. But anyway, I just totally remembered his name. I couldn't remember his name for the life of me before. But anyway, he worked at Pier 1. And he was like, I was in there and I was looking, I was like, I need a coffee table. I want a coffee table so bad. And I have this coffee table still today. I ended up putting mosaics all over it. But that is another story. He said to me, doing the mosaics on the table, that I thought like, oh, you just put a mosaic in a row and it'll even out. Like, you're gonna talk about not having no knowledge of math whatsoever. It's just, that was a mess. But the table ended up coming out fantastic. People see it and they're like, that is so cool. Anyway, so I went into Pier 1 and I was like, yeah, I need a coffee table, but I don't want to spend this kind of money. He was like, well, if you get a Pier 1 card, you get like, 10% off. And I was like, oh, really? I didn't even think like, oh, $14 off a $140 table, I was like, yeah, I need that. Well, that was the end right there, So anyway, or the beginning of the end. So I had that coffee table, and then I had a couch, and then I had all these other, I could see the things that are, I had this like horse candle holder that I had on there from Pier 1. Of course, always a huge ashtray, because I smoked like a chimney. Always smoked in my apartments back then. Just always huge ashtray. Some ashtray that, my mom had gotten in Chicago in like 1974 or something like that. You know what I mean? So just some late 1969 ashtray, this huge glass like thing that, somebody thought was art or something. And then my kitchen, it's so funny, I still have all this stuff. I need to get rid of all of this crap. It's sitting literally in my basement, you guys. My dad had a white drafting table, and I was always obsessed with this drafting table. It was literally just, I'm talking about a drafting table. So I had it sitting in the dining room up against the wall, and I had my computer on there, which was literally like one of those box Dell computers or Gateway or whatever they were back in the day. But anyway, and then I had one of those butcher block, those chairs that have the, I don't even know how to explain it, oh shoot. I don't even know how to explain it. But anyway, it's like the chairs that go with that. I had one of those, seeing those wood chairs. And then I had like all these plants that were real long that were hanging from my windowsill. And then I had 2 wooden bar stools. And I had my phone and my answering machine right there. And then in my kitchen, well, before I got sober, I had wine bottles and liquor bottles and everything like all around the top. But that came down after I got sober. And then my bathroom was just real small and plain. I don't even remember anything about it. I always had clear shower curtains. I always had to have like an absolutely clear shower curtain. And then when they would start getting soap scummy, I would just throw it away and get another one. They were cheap, like $10. And then my bedroom, which was right around the corner from that. Oh, my bedroom, so my apartment was cool too, because you entered it on the 2nd floor, but it was actually on the 3rd floor. And so you would go up a flight of stairs, and then there was a landing, and then you would come up another flight of stairs, and it came into this loft apartment. And but it wasn't really big or anything. And when on the landing, there was this huge window, and I had all of these naked Barbie dolls with their legs crossed. I don't know what I was thinking, but I would pose them in different ways and stuff like that. Sometimes they'd have hats, sometimes they'd have scarves. I would sit there literally for a half an hour and pose these Barbie dolls. People would come over and they wanted to see something different. They didn't want to see the same Barbie dolls. People would die though. I remember I had a party one time, and I had them perfectly spaced out, and somebody, I remember, I had these Barbie dolls up in my apartment, literally, you guys, the entire time that I lived there, okay? And somebody took one of my Barbie dolls. I remember it was gone. People that's why I stopped throwing parties. People thieved at parties. And but I remember looking, and I had them evenly spaced. I always had them evenly spaced no matter what they were doing. Sometimes they were talking to each other. Sometimes they were waving to everybody as they left. It didn't matter. It was foolishness. I had so much stuff like that, you guys, in my apartment. It was hilarious. And But I came down the stairs, I'll never forget. Like, and it wasn't even like the day after the party. It was like 2 days after the party. I came down the stairs and I just like stopped. I was like, somebody took one, I call them my Sheilas. Somebody took one of my Sheilas. I was so over it. So anyway, I had names for everything. And then my bedroom was huge. It was this huge bedroom. And I had, like the platform bed that my dad made for me, and I had a queen size mattress, and just this white comforter that I still have on my bed today. Like when I like want to get real comfy, you know, I just take that out and it's got stuffing coming out of it and everything. And then I had the other matching table for my bedroom at my dad's house. I had that in there next to the bed. And then I had one of those lights that was hanging down with a cord that my dad helped me hang, you know, like one of those big paper lights from Pier 1, of course. And I was obsessed with the Pier 1 back in the day. Everything I had was Pier 1. And then I had one of those mosquito nets one time. I remember, this is not a great story. I shouldn't be, well, I'm going to tell it because it's funny. This is like, you know, when you look back a little bit on your addiction, there are some phony, that too. There are some funny moments, but, so my old roommate and I, this was when I was hooked on the Vicodin, okay? And we were drinking on the Vicodin or something. I don't remember what happened, but we got caught up in this mosquito net. Like, it started twisting in our legs, and we got caught up in it, and we pulled the whole thing. We pulled the whole thing down off the ceiling. I think that was when we were done with the mosquito net. I don't remember it being in there when I got sober. I remember it being gone. So at some point, I mean, this is like literally, you guys, 24 years ago. I don't really, like, I can kind of see that apartment. Oh, it's gonna stop, hold on. Like, I can kind of see that apartment in my mind's eye, but like, I don't remember, other than how it looked, I don't remember tons about it. I actually, what's interesting is, I remember more about that apartment than I do the next apartment that I lived in. Which I remember. I mean, I remember all of these apartments. But, so I lived there from, okay. So I moved in when I was 18. So 18 to 19, 19 to 20, 20 to 21, 21 to 22. I got sober, so 22 to 23. And then my ex and I moved in with my friend, and we got a 2-bedroom apartment. So I was there like 5.5 years. I think the last year I was there like month by month paying. And then the next apartment that we were in, we would have been there a short time, like 2.5 years. And then she moved home, and he and I got our own apartment. And then he and I broke up a year later, and I stayed in that apartment until I met my ex. And then we got a 2-bedroom apartment in the same apartment complex. I had 3 apartments in the same apartment complex. I loved that apartment complex. That was where I was working out all the time at the gym, and I just loved that apartment complex so much. And sometimes I miss apartments. You know, like when you need to get stuff fixed, it's like when you live in an apartment, it's super easy. You know, people always say like, well, if you buy a house and it's not going into anything, and like, I totally get that. Like, I understand that. And I do think it's a good investment, you know what I mean? Like, I think land, houses, all that stuff is a good investment if you have the money. But at the same time, it's like the trade-off, you know? I mean, I put so much money in apartments that I could own. My last apartment, you guys, are you ready for this? My last apartment, and I moved out of there, let's see, I don't even know how I remember how much it is, but I totally do. I moved out of there, well, Alex and I will have been together 11 years. So, we got together, I still had the apartment, and then I moved everything out of it and got rid of it. Like 6 months later, maybe, was when I was officially out of it. Maybe 3 months later, I don't know. So almost 11 years ago, I was paying $915 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. You guys, like, that is ridiculous. And I look at that today, and I think about all of the house that I could have owned. I mean, I could have a house twice over with everything I put into an apartment. But at the same time, it's like, I miss, like, being able just to call somebody and be like, yeah, you need to come fix this. You know what I mean? It was nice. So that was my first apartment. I had some really good times in that apartment. I remember my first boyfriend and I, he would come over after work, and we would get like carry out and stuff like that, and we would just sit on the couch and talk and watch movies, and that was when I was sober. I can remember he would leave the next morning, and I would get up and he would like leave these little notes for me and stuff. I always thought that was real sweet. You know, it's an interesting relationship, because it's like, when I look back on that one, like, we're still totally civil towards each other we're totally civil towards each other today. And in fact, there was never any time in our breakup that we weren't civil to each other. I remember he just didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. He wanted to be single, and which is funny because he turned around and got right into another relationship. And then one night out at a bar, told me, he was like, I didn't realize what I had with you. And he was like, you know, you love making home and all this kind of stuff. And I thought I needed to be out at bars and going to circuit parties and doing, circuit parties are like, you know, like gay white parties, gay this party, gay that. They're like, they have DJs and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, I thought I needed all of that. You know, I think I've always kind of wanted to nest. Like, that is always been kind of searching for a home, making my home and things like that, you know? And, I remember him standing there in the bar saying that to me, and he was like, you know, like, I didn't realize what I had at the time, but we weren't compatible at the end anyway, and I wasn't upset with him, you know, and we were very civil towards each other. And the reality is, I didn't want to be in the relationship either. This is my first ex. I just didn't want to be in that relationship anymore, you know? It was over, and, but there weren't any hard feelings. It was like we just kind of fell out of love with each other. You know, I've been very blessed to really date great guys. And my second ex, there was really no arguing either. There was just hurt feelings, you know? It was not because any one or two things happened. It just was hurt feelings, you know? And it was just like the magic was over. And I just remember realizing that, and it was just really sad, you know? But like every person that I've dated, like I've just dated some really wonderful people. I mean, they're still wonderful people, you know? It just didn't work out between us, and that's okay. It doesn't, you know, not every relationship works out. And I wouldn't have Alex today if that had been the case. And you know, I'd like to say that I didn't bring in baggage from those relationships into my relationship with Alex, or that he didn't bring in baggage from his past relationships into ours, but that's just not the case. I think a lot of people do that in relationships, you know? But I think it better prepared me to be a different kind of boyfriend, now husband, than I would have been, you know? And not perfect by any means, but I think by the time that, you know, you're in your third long-term back-to-back, I mean, I'm like somebody that's just like, I'm all about like the relationship. Like I'm not a good dater. I don't enjoy it. I don't like dating. I can't date more than one person at a time. It confuses me. If I like somebody, this whole, like, today's generation of talking to somebody and the difference between talking to somebody and dating somebody, I don't, you know, like, it's very confusing to me. And it was even that way when Alex and I got together, because, you know, he was 12 years younger, and that was, you know, he went on several dates. He had another date planned the night that we went on our date, and he canceled it, you know, because our date went so well. But I'm just like, I don't get that idea of like dating several different people. I mean, I understand that it works for, I'm not saying I don't understand it like it doesn't work for people, or I'm judging it. I'm saying for me, like, I can't do that. Like, I go on a date and I can tell you within the first 5 minutes whether I'm wasting my time or whether I want to be with this person for quite some time. Like, I know, like, right away. I used to say, I can tell you in the first 5 minutes if I want to, if this is a waste of my time, or if I want to be with this person for the rest of my life. But that's really kind of how it feels, you know? I'm either like, I can just tell, like, this isn't happening, or, yeah, I really am interested in this person, and I really think this is something that could happen. And if it's reciprocated, then I don't really see the point in dating other people. Like, I really don't get that, you know? And so I just don't. And I haven't. And, you know, when I was in the beginning stages of relationships, I just didn't get it. I'm not good at that, you know? I know this is kind of a sad sentiment, but I mean, when you're having problems in relationships from year to year, you know, and you fix things and things get better, you know, in the past, when we have had rough patches, Alex and I've thought to myself, I don't know that if this relationship didn't make it, that I probably wouldn't date anymore. I probably really wouldn't. I probably would be single for the rest of my life and not date. I just don't know, like, this is like some real talk right here. Like, this is kind of stuff that Tanya and I talk about, like, or have talked about, you know? I mean, like, and I'm hoping that never happens. I hope, you know, I'm with my husband for the rest of my life, but I just don't know that I want to go through it all again. You know what I mean? Like, the getting to know somebody and staying over at somebody's house, and they're staying over at your house, and then the first meeting of the family, and then, you know, the meeting of the friends. I'm like, you know what? In all honesty, like, my mother, I totally understand now for her why dating was so hard. Like, I totally get it, you know? And it's like, because she didn't want to go through all that stuff. She also didn't want her independence taken away. And so, like, you know, I get it. I think dating at any age is hard. I think whether you're 20 or whether you're 60, I think it's hard, right? But I think the older you get, it's kind of like, okay, I've been there, I've done this. I don't know that I can do this again for not a sure thing. You know what I mean? Like, how many more times do I have in me to go through this kind of like dating deal? You know what I mean? I don't know. For those of you out there that are single, that are my age especially, I think, that are doing it, God love you, it's tough. I just don't know that I could do it. I see friends of mine doing it, and I'm just like, you know, I was watching The Real Housewives of Orange County with Alex. Now, I know this is not real life, okay, but I was watching it with Alex, and you know, Shannon, she's been through some shit on that show, you know, with her husband and her ex-husband and stuff, and she looks fantastic. She looks so good. You know, people a lot ask me what my mom used to look like. My mom looks a lot like Shannon. Long blonde hair. She would wear it over the side sometimes. Then later in life, she cut her hair real short. It was kind of like Victoria Beckham, more kind of style. Well, I don't know what Victoria Beckham's hair looks like today, but back, you know, when it was kind of like down like that. My mom, and she would tuck one behind her ear. But that wasn't for a long time. My mom looked like Shannon, and she would wear jackets and jeans and, you know, like a t-shirt underneath it and stuff. My mom, that's how she dressed a lot. How she dresses on the show. It's weird. It kind of like reminds me a little bit of her. I don't know, but you know, I've watched her and she like go on these dates with these guys and stuff. And it's like sometimes when I watch these Real Housewives and I see them go on dates and things, I just think like, I don't just know how you do it, like at that age. Like, that's tough. And like I said, it's tough at any age, you know, but you know, and Tanya and I were talking about this the other day. It's like, with a friend of ours, and it's like back in the day, you know, we were talking about how difficult it is, you know, to find somebody today. And I was like, well, back in the day, like, we would go to bars, you know, like, or a friend would introduce us. But like, that doesn't seem to be the case today. It seems to be like, you have to be on Match.com, or you have to, you know what I mean? Like, my mom used to go to these singles groups at church, and she would just say, it's so sad. And I would be like, why? And she'd say, you know, like these, what are they called? What? It had a name. I actually remember it was at St. Luke's here in town. It was St. Luke's Singles Group. That's what it was called. And it was like on Thursday nights, and they would do little dinners and outings and things like that. And she'd say, it's bad news. And I'm like, what do you mean, Mom? And she'd say, okay, there's 2 women and 15 men or 20 men. And, you know, both of us are professional and kind of have our stuff together. And then, you know, 10 out of the 15 men are 60. And they have, like, belt buckles from, like, the 70s. And they're, like, totally obvious about just wanting to get in your pants. And she's like, it's depressing. She's like, there's not anything there I want, you know? And I'd be like, well, Mom, you should join a book club, or, you know, whatever. And she's like, oh, yeah, go to the grocery store. I mean, she would joke. She'd be like, you know, I think it's what my mom started, or if you don't know, my mom wrote a book, and I found it after she passed away, and it was called Waiting on a Friend, or Dear Mick, Waiting on a Friend, because it was a Rolling Stone song, part of a book, almost an entire book. But anyway, it's called Dear Mick, Waiting on a Friend. And I find more and more of it all the time, and it's like, it's in weird places. It's like not all together. It's like in journal entries, she'll have like 10 pages. And so I've been trying to piece it together, but, it's called Dear Mick, or Waiting on a Friend. And it's like all these questions, because my mother loved the Rolling Stones and she loved Mick Jagger. And it's basically all these questions about the differences between men and women in society. And she kind of just went on. It's kind of like, it would be considered what we would call today like a blog, but they were really essays and that were all within this book. And it was like just about her feeling like women a lot in society got a really raw deal, and that, you know, men that were 50 or 60 wanted women that were 20. And so then what happens to the women that are 50 or 40 or 60? You know, what happens to them? Because are they supposed to say 80-year-olds? You know, and she'd say, you know, there aren't a lot of men out there today that want, you know, women that are of my age, you know, or whatever. And so she talked a lot about that in there. But I knew she had a lot of feelings about that anyway. We used to talk about it a lot. She'd say, I just don't get it, you know? My mom really, really, really got hurt just one time. And I think after this, she just cut out dating. Like, she just didn't do it anymore. And my mom really, really... she really liked this guy. And I don't think it was as serious as maybe she thought it was serious. Like, you know, my mom hadn't been with anybody since, like, my dad. A couple people. She had dated a couple people, you know, but, like, nothing, like, 5 years, nothing like that or anything. But she liked this guy a lot. And she found out that he was talking to another woman. And, he told her, he was like, I'm more interested in her than I am in you. And I just remember it, like, soul crushing, you know, like... I think it's hard. I remember my mom one time saying something to me, like, we were having a conversation. I was in between relationships, which for me meant like 6 months. I never went much longer than that without having a boyfriend. And, we were watching like some show, it was like Jerry Springer or something, which is weird because my mother hated those kind of shows. But I remember, like, I said, I don't understand how these women can get like 2 men fighting over them. And I remember she said, well, you two could have 2 men fighting over you. Look at what, you know, what they have to offer, if that's what you want, you know. But she was like, you know, you're a little pickier than that, Peter. And, but she said, you know, we're not any of us promised a mate in life. And I remember that sticking with me. It's such a sad sentiment, you know, but I think it's like, you know, I never like, I think one of the biggest things that's come from YouTube is I don't take my friends for granted today on my, you know, my personal life. Like, I mean, I don't know that I ever did take him for granted, but I never really realized that other people don't have friends. Like, when I get comments like that, you guys, it really is so sad to me. It just breaks my heart for people, and people are like, you know, I don't have anybody in my life. I mean, I get emails like this all the time from people that are like, I don't have any people in my life besides workers. I don't talk to anybody. The only interaction I have with anybody is watching your videos. And if it wasn't for your videos, Herbaumeister's house is right down there. I always get real creeped right here. But if it wasn't for your videos, I wouldn't feel like I had any human interaction on a daily basis. And that breaks my heart, you know? It's like, I don't know. Makes me grateful for my husband. It makes me grateful for our relationship, you know, because there are people out there that don't have relationships. This car is like riding my ass on these up and down country roads. I don't like it. He is just getting faster and faster behind me. Like, if I speed up, he speeds up. stop sign, and I'm gonna like stop and not put on my turn signal, and then I'm gonna turn, and we're gonna see what happens. Okay, he went that way. That scared the hell out of me. Turn around here instead of going to the next street, because that goes around. I'm like, see, this is what happens when you read too many serial killer books. But that goes around, and so like he could like cut me off and come back that way, and I'm like, but he would have to do a U-turn up here if he did that. Anyway, I know I'm paranoid about nothing, but anyway. But you know, I think about that a lot, like with not being promised a mate in life and how hard that is, and now I'm scared. How weird is that, you guys, that I said that was right by the Herb Baumeister house? Okay, there's no cars coming, right? Because I don't want to... No cars coming, okay. Do you see how I get myself spooked, you guys? Like, this is what happens when I listen to my audiobooks late at night. I get myself scared. I don't know why, but when I was listening to that John Wayne Gacy book, like, that really scared me. I mean, why wouldn't it, right? But it's not like John Wayne Gacy's gonna come out. I'm like looking behind me. So if you're somebody out there that doesn't have a lot of people in your life, just know I'm thinking of you. I know that doesn't mean a whole lot, but I do think of it now. I am conscious of it, you know? It was like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and this isn't Tanya. I said it in a video, and people were like, Tanya. I'm like, this isn't Tanya. I don't say anything about... Tanya and I talk about our weight together and stuff, but like, this is a friend... Anyway, this is a friend of mine that has struggled with her weight, like, much of her life. And we were talking about, and I think this is sometimes where you aren't self-aware because you don't know until somebody says something to you. And she said, you know, Peter, because you always are saying something about your weight. And I said, I know. I said, it's just like, you know, it's such a huge issue for me. And it has been for a long time. And she's like, you know, but when you do that, like, it makes somebody like my size feel like 10 times worse about themselves. Because I look at you and I don't think of you as heavy. She's like, yeah, I think of you like heavier, like you need to lose some weight. She's like, but I don't think of you like on my level on how much weight I have to lose. And she's been losing a bunch of weight. Like, I'm so proud of her. And she's really actually a huge inspiration to me. And, you know, and I said, is that what happens? And she's like, yeah. She's like, when you make a comment about it, like, it immediately makes me think, wow, like, I must be, like, if he thinks he's big, I must be ginormous. And I never think about, like, I don't think about that way, you know, like, and I don't think of others and their weight in response to me. I just think about myself, right? But then I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about, you know, when I have friends of mine, and I do have a lot of friends of mine that are like, you know, like they could maybe lose 5 or 10 pounds, maybe, and probably don't even need to lose that, right? And they're like, I'm so fat, I need to lose weight, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm just like, shut up, like, seriously? And I totally understood what she meant, you know? And after that, I was like, you know what? I do need to be more conscious of that. I do need to be more aware of that. Those are like ways that I feel like the lesson is presented sometimes that we don't necessarily see it sometimes. I mean, you know, The weight thing is hard. Oh God, this vlog has been all over the place tonight. The weight thing is hard because it's like, you know, I'm a big believer in body acceptance. And so there are days that I accept my body as it is, and I love myself no matter what. Like, I believe that we all should. I believe that we should all work on self-love. I think it is paramount in life. And, you know, it's like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? I do believe that. And I think, you know, I'm not into self-deprecation, and I'm not into people putting themselves down. And it was at the end. And I guess I do that with my weight, you know, like more so than I even realize. And I don't like it when other people do it. I don't like it when other people put themselves down. I just don't like it. I don't like it. You know, I'm like, build yourself up. Don't, you know, tear yourself down. Like, there's no necessity for that, right? But the body positivity thing is really, really hard for me, because there's some days that, like, I'm like, I don't really care. I feel great today. I feel great about my body. You know, I'm okay, and blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, whatever. And then I eat. And then there are other days, I mean, this is totally the food addiction part of it, the eating addiction, you know? And there are other days that I am my world's worst critic on how I look, and I feel undesirable for my husband, and I feel gross, and I'm like, never gonna lose weight, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like this back and forth with me. I go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And, you know, I've talked about this with my past counselor and my therapist, and I've worked on this issue for years, and it's like, you know, I've worked steps on this issue, and it's just like, you know, I really believe the thing for me is that I have got to get onto a healthy lifestyle. And I'm not stupid. I know that me being on Optavia is not like the healthiest thing in the entire world. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it so that it triggers me kind of losing some weight and getting healthy. And I've said that. If I could stick my ass to it, you know, and stop saying tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. And today, I have stuck to it all day long. Well, no. That's not necessarily true. My lean and green, well, it is, kind of, because my lean and green today was my meatballs that I had at IKEA. And I had the IKEA meatball. I guess it was. Yeah, I mean, I stuck to it. Other than that, I was going to say, well, I didn't with IKEA. But that my lean and green meal would count as that. Because I had the meatballs, which would be my protein. And then, but they had a curry sauce on it. But Alex said sometimes that stuff doesn't really matter, that when he was doing it, it wasn't a huge deal. But other than that, yeah, I've stuck to it all day today. So this is like, you know, but it's like day one, you know? If I could lose, you know, 30, 40 pounds and then keep doing it in a healthy way, where I was working out on a regular basis and I was eating healthy and I felt good about myself, right? Like, that's where I want to get to. And then eat the junk food or for the review channel, or eat the junk food when I go out to eat if I want to, or make healthy food choices when I go out to eat. I can do that too, you know, I'm not a total idiot. But it's like in the moment, and that's where like that impulse control, the food addiction comes in. Like in that moment, I'm just like, I don't care, F it, you know? I want to have pizza, or I want to have an Impossible Burger, you know, or something like that. And I know that if I got my stuff together and I got healthy, that I could do that. So healthy living is where it's at, and I know that. Yeah. I think about it all the time. Like, I have all the time in the world to work out, you know? I have no excuse not to. And Alex is pretty healthy, so he's supportive of me doing it, you know? We'll just take one day at a time, how's that? And today I did good, we'll see how tomorrow goes. I'm hopeful for tomorrow as well, so one day at a time. Yeah. Anyway, I went down memory lane a little bit tonight, didn't I, with that apartment? I sure didn't think that I would do that. My ex, Todd, the one that passed away, that I found out he passed away afterwards. That's where we spent our time, was in that apartment too. I remember we only dated for a couple months, not even. I don't know, like 2.5 months, something like that. But I remember he introduced me to so much music. He introduced me to Dave Matthews Band, and he used to say the Christmas song by Dave Matthews Band reminded him of me. And we would sit on my couch. So this couch that I had that my dad got me was like sunken in couch. We would sit there, I mean, for hours and talk. And I remember, like, one day, like, it was raining outside, and he wanted to walk in the rain. It was like late. We would stay up all night long. And I remember we like walked down to the gas station and bought cigarettes and sodas and like walked back in the rain, and we came back and we were like drenched and stuff. And I can see myself standing at the counter on the phone talking to him when he told me he was going to go to Bloomington. He was going to go to IU Bloomington. And he was like, this is nothing about you. I really care about you, but I need to go and be on a campus. I can remember having that conversation, and I said, listen, I'm not going to stand in the way of what you want to do with your life. Like, if you need to be on a college campus, you need to do that. And he's like, but I want to go down there and I don't want to be in a relationship. And I said, I totally understand that, you know? Like, I care a lot about it. I was sad, you know? Because we both liked each other a lot. And I think, you know what, he was right. Like, it wasn't going to work, you know? I can stand there. I can see myself, my first month of sobriety, like having all these phone numbers from like people would give me from meetings, you know, like on the back of a checkbook. Like today we like make lists for people to have all of our phone numbers, but back then that wasn't the case. And somebody would write down their number on the back of like a little, you know, piece of checkbook, or, you know, like scrap a receipt in their car or purse or whatever. I had all these numbers to call people, and I had them like placed on my counter. But then like I also had like 2 or 3 numbers of like, you know, dealers and whatever, and I would be like, okay, like if it was 11 a.m., I'd be like, if I can just make it to like 11:30, if I can just make it to 11:30, at 11:30 I can like go to the liquor store, which was like walking distance, or I can call one of my dealers. I was like, if I can just make it to 11:30, if I can just make it to 11:30. And I would sit there and I would call these people in the program, you know, and I would call them and I would call them and I would call them until I got a hold of somebody. And if I got to 11:30, I'd be like, okay, if I can just make it to 12, if I can just make it to 12, if I can just make it to 12. And every single day, somebody came and picked me up and took me to a meeting, kept me occupied, bought me cheeseburgers, like I said, you know. It was like, that apartment was like the death of me, but it was the rebirth of me as well, you know. I don't know what Peter then would have made of Peter today. If I'd shown him me and been like, this is who you're going to end up being, I don't know what I would have thought. I was scared to death, you know? I was scared of everything. I was scared of the future. I was scared of next week. I lacked confidence. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was terrified, you know, of everything. I'm not as scared today, but I would say I still have that fear about things inside of me. I don't like that. I don't like being ruled by fear, you know? But I definitely have some, you know, in my life. And I think it's also common with a lot of alcoholics and addicts. You know, it's funny because like I can look back and I can see that apartment. I just remember I had this kerosene. It was like this round glass kerosene lamp, and it had like this, you know, stick in it thing that you light. It was like this candle or whatever that I had on my table. And then, because the table that I got was actually a glass table until I got with my next ex, and then that was when I mosaicked it. So that was at the next apartment. No, that was at our apartment. So that was 3 apartments later. 1, 2, 3 apartments later, yeah. And it was just a glass a table until then. And then for a long time, I have this table that my dad actually made. It's a slate in the middle, and it has wood around the edges of it. And he made it for their apartment in Chicago because it's really cool. It's in our basement. He like sanded it and everything. And he made it so that like they could put their drinks in the middle of it, and I would walk, when I started to walk, that I could walk around the edges of it and I couldn't reach their drinks. Isn't that cute? So anyway, but you know, I have this image in my head of a very, like, that apartment at a very desolate, drunk time, but also parties and positive and people sitting around everywhere and, you know, having a good time and being crazy and, you know, like, I can just remember, like, if I wanted to romance those times, I could. I mean, I can remember, like, I don't really talk much about my weed smoking, but I smoked a hell of a lot of weed, and I can remember, like, laying up on the couch, like, back in the corner, you know, smoking a joint. I love to smoke joints, and smoking a joint, you know, like, while I was watching some movie, or, like, laying in the bathtub. I love to smoke in the bathtub, you know, and I can remember my friends coming over. This friend I was talking about, you know, earlier tonight that we would walk, like, her and her sister coming over and, like, a bunch of their friends, and we would go, we wanted to make mudslides, so we'd go buy, you know, 8 different kinds of alcohol to make mudslides. Now you can just go buy mudslides, but back then you had to buy all the alcohol. Remember that? To, like, go make the, you know, the drinks. It's like, I remember all of that, you know, and then I remember it getting really desperate, too, and I remember, like, you know, me not getting out of bed for days on end, and, like, ashtrays turning over and the sheets, and it just, you know, bottles of Jack Daniels next to my bed, and it just being gross, and, you know, like, my bathroom just having beer bottles everywhere in the corner, and just, it was nasty. It was gross, you know? And then I remember after that, you know, my dad had it professionally cleaned while I was in treatment, and coming home, and this brand new coffee maker that my dad bought for me, you know, and the carpet being, you know, completely, like, brand new, almost cleaned, and just, like, flannel pajamas, you know, and a flannel robe, and I just remember feeling really safe there, and I think that's kind of like something I've always sought, is like feeling like a safety, you know, feeling safe someplace. And I remember feeling that, like, when I first got out of treatment, was there, I felt safe, you know, and I can remember opening my refrigerator and, like, having, my dad would go to the grocery store and get food for me, and I can remember there being, like, lunch meat and cheese and, like, 6 different kinds of juices, and this pasta salad I used to like called creamy rotini. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and pasta salads, and, you know, different kinds, and potato salad, and macaroni and cheese in the closet, and just, you know, all kinds of stuff. And my dad was so good to me, you know, and I'm forever indebted to him for that, all of that, you know. And I can, that image of that apartment is clean, and I can see myself sitting there, you know, and reading, like, on the, I can see myself, like, taking a shower, and then, like, I can see myself taking a shower, eating a Vicodin, drinking in the shower, getting out, smoking a joint, and sitting on the couch, feeling clean, watching a Christmas movie. Flash forward, I can remember getting out of the same shower, putting on a bathrobe, coming out, you know, feeling super clean, but more clean, like, in a different kind of way clean. Like, I felt clean. And sitting on the same couch, watching a movie, you know, and the whole place just was transformed, and it was all of a sudden this place of safety. And I don't know, I don't think about that apartment too often. It's weird. You'd think I would think about it more, but I don't. I sure have tonight, though. I still remember the address. Isn't that funny? I remember when, so we had, like, those, when you would walk down the stairs to go out the door, we had those, like, mailboxes that you would, like, put the key in, and then you lift it up like that. And I'd seen it in Breakfast at Tiffany's, so I kept a bottle of cologne in that thing, because, so when I was going out the door, I would open the mailbox, and I would, like, spray cologne on. I thought I was Holly Golightly. I had forgotten about that. I thought I was Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's. I really did think I was the answer back in the day. Oh my God. I was a character. Maybe I still am. Maybe I haven't lost it all. I don't know. Anyway, you guys, listen, I think I'm going to get off here now. I don't have any idea how long I've vlogged. I know it's ran its course twice, and I vlogged a little bit earlier, so I'm going to stop it now. But I hope you... I've been saying this lately. I hope you enjoyed the vlog tonight. But I do. I hope you enjoyed the vlog tonight. And if you're alone, wherever you are, I'm thinking of you. And sending out some positive vibes, hugs, virtual hugs. And I hope you guys are having an amazing Thursday, unless you have other plans. But like I always say, don't have other plans. Just enjoy your day. And, yeah. Do something really enjoyable today, you know? I don't know, eat some rainbow sherbet or something. Or make an ice cream sundae. God, that sounds good. And I hope you guys are having the most amazing day. And unless you have other plans. But don't have other plans. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Make sure that you work on some self-love today and you tell yourself good things about yourself. Make sure that you look in the mirror every single day and say, I love you, like I just did. And with a smile on your face. And believe it in your heart. But most importantly, pass it on to somebody else and let them know how much they mean to you and how important they are to you. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I love you. Bye. Love ya.